And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, good afternoon, sir. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's actually afternoon. You got it right.
Yeah, I decided, I'm holding back the punches today. We got a lot to get through because this is a really exciting list.
And here's the thing, folks. This is going to be a board game breakdown, but a very special board game breakdown. It's a board game breakdown of our top 100 games. So we got something coming on. By the time this is done, it will be our 101st recorded episode. So we thought we'd do something special leading up to 100 episodes and kind of miscounted a little, but...
Yeah, that's all right. Because we're going to split this into a few different episodes, but we're going to try and film as much of it as we can today, and then go into tomorrow probably.
So for our audio and YouTube listeners, the next 5 episodes are just going to be our 100 board game breakdown of our top 100 games of all time, which should be intriguing. I'm actually shocked with some of this list here that I got. In fact, I need to make sure this is on silent.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I did my list on my phone, and so we want to give a shout out to the program we used, of course.
Yeah.
Because I believe it was called Pubmel, the website. Go check that out. You can actually upload your list of games, and then using that list, it'll pick 2 different random games from your collection and compare the 2, and you just click on the one you'd rather play. And it's real simple in how that works. So basically, if I have Raiders of the North Sea up there, and I pick checkers under that, then anything that's above Raiders of the North Sea from that point will also be above checkers.
So I had a funny story, speaking of Raiders of the North Sea. I had to mention this. I wanted to tell you about this. I started a new job, and I was working with our mutual friend, the Gamehead Geek, over on TikTok. And we work together. And he went to go talk to a client of ours while I stayed back. And at that time, I'm like, well, I got some time to kill. I'll get up on Game Nerds and see what they have on sale. So I told him I am not to be left alone by myself anymore because I ended up buying Raiders of Scythia.
And didn't he end up buying it too?
He ended up buying Gizmos like the day before.
So you guys are like, you're working and getting money, and immediately you're spending it before you're getting the money while at work.
It was hilarious, but yeah. So I got that coming in. Speaking of Raiders of the North Sea, I got the upgraded version, the newest version.
That's pretty great. And, I actually had a funny story with my list too, as well, because you could do it on your phone and kind of rank between the two, and with enough games, it takes a number of hours to do that.
Oh, yeah. It took me about 3 days just to get through everything.
Right, exactly. And there was one point where I wanted to get it done pretty quick, and I was dropping off my kids. And so I handed my phone to my daughter, and I said, all right, read me these. and for probably about a good 20 minutes of driving, as I was getting them to where they needed to be, it's like, all right. And she would mispronounce half of them. And so... she would go, what the? Hamamakoji? It was just so great hearing my 10-year-old trying to pronounce half of them.
Yeah, you play some very weird games, so that's rude.
Yeah, and then she would also try and predict based on what she's played, and she would get so shocked. Like, if it was between, something like Bonanza, which she's never played, and Trash Pandas, which she loves.
Yeah.
Of course, it's obvious for me, I'd pick Bonanza, but then she would go, but Trash Pandas is amazing. I'm like, I'm not saying it's not. There's a reason it's on my list.
Yeah.
But it's not as good as Bonanza.
So, going through this list, and I'm going to just mention a few before we get started. And also, there's no normal Facebook post because, again, this is our personal top 100. Mm-hmm. And 2, this is going to take a while. So we're not doing... This is a board game breakdown. We're not doing what we played, any of that situation. Yeah. We're just going into what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking in here. I ended up ranking 285 games.
Same here. Exactly 285.
So... I don't know if that's something that the game comes up with, is like, screw all the other stuff that's in there. But with me, it came out to, I ranked, I think it was 411 games in it, because it included my BGG that I owned or previously owned and I've played. And so what I did was take out the games that I don't necessarily think should be in my top 100 or want to rank anymore. So certain things like Risk or Risk or Pandemic or Mass Effect Risk and stuff like that I have just to have, not really to play, because I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. But yeah, both of us came up with 285, and my 281st game is Sagrada.
285th, you mean?
81st.
Oh.
It beat out. I thought it was going to be lower towards the bottom, and it is at the bottom. But Colt Express actually scored worse than Sagrada, so that's saying something. I'd rather play Sagrada, a game that I can't really see, over Colt Express.
Yeah, my 274. You're gonna be surprised by this. Puerto Rico.
My 278, Carcassonne.
That hurts, and I'm sure I'm part of the reason it dropped like 100 spots.
No, it just the games that it went up with, I'd rather play instead.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't blame you.
Though Carcassonne had a big drop because ahead of it at 259 is Lost Cities, and you know how I feel about that game.
That's right. You're quite the fan of it.
Yeah.
My 182 is Dragonwood.
Wow. Well, I get that. Let's see here. Something else that surprised me. Dice Throne made it to 220. I thought it was going to be actually higher.
Yeah, I would imagine Dice Throne with you.
And Jorvik was at 216. Jorvik didn't even... Stefan Feld didn't... a Stefan Feld game didn't even make it in the top.
I have quite a few. Jorvik also did not make my top 100, I don't believe. I'll double check that. But my number 171, Space Base.
Really? Mm-hmm. My number 200, Animal Upon Animal.
163 for me is Machikoro.
And here's something that really shocked me. One of the newer games that I really enjoyed. Yeah, it is a lot of games. One game I really enjoyed, Marvel United, is only at 196. I wonder if we do this again within a year or two, if it's going to climb even more, especially when X-Men United come out.
Yeah, which is going to be the one you're excited. Daniel, I know this is going to be probably in your top 100. My 156 is Silver and Gold.
That's shocking. You know what ended up in my 175? El Grande. It was at 173.
Yeah, my El Grande didn't even make my list because I forgot how to play it so badly. 153, Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft, which I praise this game a lot.
Here's something shocking for you. We've only played it a handful of times. Cribbage is 149.
Ooh. That may or may not be on my list. We'll see. 116 for me was Acquire.
Oh, wow. That's shocking because I thought you had that higher.
I used to. It used to be definitely in the top 20.
A game that I talk about a lot about playing, and you and me have varying degrees of it. You like it less than I do. And that is Hardback. 121. You know what ended up 120?
What's that?
Amerigo.
Ooh, another Stefan Feld, huh? 114, which the reason I point this out is not that it's shocking that it's this low, but I feel like it's going to climb into the top 100 if I keep playing it and enjoying it as much as I do. Minecraft Builders and Biomes.
Really? That's actually pretty high. 115 for me was Trash Pandas, and that followed up with Jaipur at 114.
Jaipur, sir, you've lost all credibility with your list. My number 107 is 10 Days in the USA, which I used to play with my dad a lot.
My 107 was Lost Ruins of Arnak. Brand new game, already hit 107.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I could have sworn that would have been in the top 30 for you.
Yeah, no, it was only 107.
Wow.
In Century Golem Eastern Edition, Eastern Mountains, 106. My
102 was Czar, which is one of the gift series abstracts.
And here's an interesting note before we get into our list. 105 was Around the World in 80 Days, followed by Nations, followed by adventure card game The Dungeon. 102, Deception and Murder in Hong Kong.
Wow. Okay.
And 101 did not make the top 100, Dinosaur Island.
That makes sense. My number 101 was Game of Thrones: The Iron Throne. Which
is the Cosmic Encounter.
Yes, it's the Cosmic Encounter remake. And yes, Creative Chaos does know Jaipur because I showed her how to play it on Board Game Arena. Go check BoardGameArena.com.
Yeah, and it's a really good one. So let's get into our list. If you want to grab that die over there, since I don't know if we got the Coin of Doom.
We'll do the die. But before I do that, there was a couple caveats to my list that I wanted to explain for some of them. First off, and I know you're already going to say something on this one, but I did not include any games I personally designed. I'm sure you didn't either.
Well, it didn't crack the 285, let me tell you that.
It didn't include anything that I designed, of course. Secondly, the next rule that I did is that I did not include any legacy games that I have not completed yet. So ones that are pending, like Rise of Queensdale, while I feel it'll be up there, and maybe Risk Legacy, I did not include them just because I don't feel like it's an adequate.
I'm not sure that I have incomplete ones in my top 100. I could be wrong. If it made it into my top 100, because I already saw Risk Legacy, and I think Rise of Queensdale was somewhere in the 100s. Mm-hmm. The only one that might make it is Charterstone. I'm not sure. I haven't really gone through too much in my top 100, other than just to kind of glance over and see what was in it.
Yeah, no Excavate. Unfortunately not. And my next rule that I did is no escape rooms. I don't see those as board games in this example. I know they're on Board Game Geek, but like unlock, because they're trying to be a simulation of an interactivity thing.
I didn't agree to that, so.
And that's fine.
I don't even know if it's on this list itself, but I did have like one of the unlocks. I only counted one of them. The one I liked the most was the one that was on my list. I don't know if it made it into the top 100, but yeah.
Yeah. See, I like unlocks a lot, and I like the exits, and they're a really great series. It's just I didn't feel like it can compare, because now it's diminished returns. Now that I've completed it, I have to wait quite some time before.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that you can argue the fact the same way about legacy games. So sure. I have no problem with it. If I enjoyed the game and if it makes my top 100, it makes my top 100.
Yeah, that's fair. And my last rule of thumb that I did is I only included games I own. And I know that there's plenty of games that I would have included, but I just did not have the time to look through everything I've played in the past 3 years and try and remember, like, Mechs vs. Minions, try to remember Red Cathedral. That just popped into my head right now, and I already know I would have forgotten it when trying to figure out it on my list. So I know as soon as I buy those, they'll probably be on my list.
Yeah, that was another thing is when I was going through that list, I told you that I garbaged a couple games that I didn't think should be on there. Mm-hmm. If it was a game that I've played but I don't remember, I took it out. One of the ones was like Wonder Bay, The Cult of the Shell, or some weird game that I played from our mutual friend of ours. I'm like, I don't really remember it. I remember I had fun playing it. Got rid of it. Another one was the Simon game about pandas, The Rise of Pandas, or something like that. Another Way of the Pandas. I took that one out because I don't really remember it. Another one that I eliminated because it was just too recent. I haven't played it too much to really make a judgment on it. Was Ankh, because it was counted on my list. It was on my list. I eliminated that one. Another caveat I did for myself is that, like, I allowed all the Century games because they play differently enough. Where like Century Golem, or not the Century Golem in the original Century Spice Road. But mine was the Golem editions. I allowed all three of those because they play differently.
Yeah.
But if it was encounters, legendary encounters, Alien versus Alien and Predator, I took out the one that I kept the one that I liked the most because they play simply. They just have a different theme on it. And so I took out one over the other, and we'll get into it if it shows up on my list.
I did that as well because I know, like, King Domino, Queen Domino, I did that with. Like, I kind of chunked them together because they are really just that close. So, all right, let's get the Die of Doom.
All right, I'm ready for it. Are you?
Sure am. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sounds good. You start.
All right. So my number 100, fantastic game. And honestly, any one of these games, there's a very good chance that if you play them, you'll like them.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these are in our top 100 after all of the games that we've played. Yeah. But just...
Again, I mentioned it, 411 to start this list, and that's not all the games I've played.
Yeah, no.
Because this is coming from the criteria for the last 3-4 years of me keeping on BGG as well as my BG stats.
Yeah. Yep. This is all of the ones that I currently have listed as owned on my Board Game Geek, which I did realize that there was a few errors in that. And so my number 100 that barely did not get eliminated Worderific, which I've told you about this game
Yeah,
before.
yeah, you have.
It is one of the ugliest, absurdly, just terrible quality piece. It has generic poker chips, two 10-sided dice.
Is this the one that
really
has
bad cards.
the really bad insert as well?
No.
Oh, okay.
The insert is okay. It's fine for what it is. But it's a word game, and what makes it great is you roll a die, and then it picks a category based on the letter. So it might say, I don't know, restaurant as the code word. And it's basically apples to apples. Everybody else has a hand of letter cards, and you try and make the best word using your letters to specify why that works for that category.
Yeah.
And at first it seems like just an apples to apples ripoff or Cards Against Humanity ripoff. It's way better than that because you have to sell. You're never going to make the perfect word. And if you do, then you've earned it every bit. But then you have to sell and really go out of your way to explain. Let me explain why we do this. And a mutual friend of ours actually was able to do so by winning. I think experience was the word. And he had the name Richard, and he told us a great story of a waiter he had named Richard, and it was this long drawn out story, and it's totally sold us on it. So that's why it's number 100. Worderific.
Interesting. So going on to my list, my number 100. There are some shockers in these next 20 that we're going to talk about. This one being one of them. I literally thought this game would be higher, and it barely squeaked in the top 100. And that's one we both enjoy. Disney Villainous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm completely shocked. This one, you're taking a villain and you're trying to decide it's an asymmetrical game where you're trying to win however your villain wins. Whether you're Ursula, who is trying to sign away the contract and get the trident away from the king, and that's how you win. Or King John, all he wants is gold and power, so you just need to get up to, I think it was 20 power for King John. And the expansions add some different stuff. Captain Hook wants to beat Peter Pan on the as well as have the treasure map without getting eaten by the crocodile and stuff like that. So it's a really good game. I really have a good time with it. I love the action selection that you got to do. I equate it to Scythe is one of the first games that I saw where you have to move upon and you can take the actions in that area, but you cannot repeat that action on your next turn, so you have to go to a different section, and it'll trigger different things. Whereas Scythe, that's one of the things you can do in that game for all the different actions. That's the main mechanism for Villainous. And it's not too bad because there's only 4 or 5 different things you can do it in different combos on different the boards, and then people can do stuff to you where they cover up half your slot while putting a hero up there. So I really, really enjoy Disney Villainous. And this is another one where I was talking about if something was a lot alike between Disney Villainous and Marvel Villainous. I actually eliminated Marvel Villainous because I have so much and played so much of Disney Villainous. The only difference is the Fate deck, which I like in Marvel Villainous. I think it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really work with Disney as it does with Marvel. Because it makes sense that the superheroes are doing stuff to the villains in different aspects. So it's not where I have my own personal Fate deck. It's a group Fate deck. So I enjoy it. I had a good time with Villainous. And honestly, I am shocked that it's this low. But hey, them's how it rolls.
Where do you think it placed on my list?
Probably in the 150s.
118. So good call. My number 99, Ice Cool. Dexterity. And you know how much I dig on dexterity games. This is certainly not the last dexterity that's going to show up on this list. But Ice Cool, yeah, amazing game where you're flicking these weeble wobble style penguins across boxes that are made up of different rooms, in through doorways. But it's asymmetric, so one player is playing the hall monitor at the time, trying to peg the other players. I absolutely love this. And it spawned a whole series of trick shots online, people showing off their skills.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
I think for a while, they were going to do a world championship and send the winner to Antarctica.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something.
There's
crazy,
a cruise line that actually will take you down to Antarctica, so that's kind of cool. I want to end up doing that.
Yeah, that might have been part of it. But Ice Cool, amazing game, number 99.
Honestly, I'm surprised Ice Cold didn't come on my list. I don't think it was actually because it's been. I don't think, because I've never owned it, so it wasn't on my BGG stats
Right.
there. And I've only kept records of what I've played the last 3 years, so I played it before I kept records. I'm surprised I didn't even think about that one, but yeah, that's a good pick. If I had to choose, it'd probably be in my 150s. I don't think it would be up in the top 100. I enjoy it, but it's not my favorite dexterity game.
Yeah,
by
that
far.
makes sense.
So my number 99, this is the shock to me. I mean, I talked about Disney Villainous and I thought it would be higher, but I only played this one time, and I remember having very much fun about it, and it's a game that you own that you've been trying to track down for a long time.
Ooh.
And it's a Spiel des Jahres winner.
Turn-in taxis?
Yes.
Wow.
I am
All right.
completely and utterly shocked that this is up there as well. For myself, I like the game, and
It was memorable.
I was like, okay, I can understand why it squeaked in my top 100, because when it came down to the rankings, and I'm like, yeah, I played this one over that. Yeah, I played this one over that. And it comes down to some, and it eliminated some big games, like Pandemic, The Cure, or Rapid Response and stuff like that. I was like, I played Turns to Taxis over that again. This is basically you're making a German postal route, and you're trying to get as many points at the end of the game. I vaguely remember it. I remember having much fun, and I remember us having to have the printout of the English rules because it was still in German only.
Yep.
But I remember having a great time when we played this, and I was like, I could see why this won the Spiel. So that's my number 99 is Turn in Taxis.
My number 98 is a party game that I push on a lot of players because I think this is one of the best party games. It's basically fantasy football brackets, the debate game. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's Cranium something.
Party Playoff, yes. In fact, I saw this at one of our local used bookstores the other day, and I thought about buying it. Not, I already own it, but I feel more people should own it, and that's kind of one of those things that I would buy to give to somebody because I think it's a fantastic game. Basically, you just have 4 different categories, either people, places, things, or actions. And you debate them based on criteria. Like, who would you rather have a dream about? Ronald McDonald or Betty White? And you have to
Betty White,
argue about it. Of course, right? I mean, that's obvious. But some of them aren't as obvious. Like, if Bob Ross was in there, that might be a really great dream. And you don't know the questions before, but you see everybody who's competing in the brackets, and you have to try and pick each different winners, and then who would win it overall. And it becomes less of a game of trying to win and more of just like,
absurdity.
How can I sell people on this game or on this person or character or whatever? It's absolutely absurd, and I love the mess out of it. One of the best party games I've ever played, and that's Party Playoff, my number 98.
Yeah, it's not bad. Again, this is another one that didn't make my list because this is before I kept track of everything. Honestly, it'd probably be in the 200s. I like it, but there's party games on here that I like way more. Going into my number 98, this is a legacy that we completed. And I thought this would be higher as well, but it barely squeaked in the top 100. And that is Betrayal Legacy. I really, really enjoyed this game. And again, it came down to it. What games it went up against in the picks and stuff like that. And I'm still glad it's in the top 100. I had a blast with this, and it's just the overall, when we talk about in our top 8 debate, the game immersion, the little chant that we came up with when certain things came out, or when things went bad, or the naming of the cards and making them family heirlooms and hoping you get it but never got it.
Yeah,
So,
that was a really great. The storyline behind this was phenomenal.
My personal favorite thing is one of the storyline behind it was I made this thing my family heirloom in the first game, and I never got it back until I think it's the second to last or the last game. But in between, everybody else got it twice before I got it again, and I got killed by it twice. My own family heirloom.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, by the way. It's a little late now.
Wait. Spoiler alert?
Yeah, that wasn't in the first part of the game.
Yes, it is.
Heirlooms didn't come until later.
No, heirlooms came in the first part of the game because
let's play the whole campaign again and figure this out.
I had it in the first campaign because I used it to win the first campaign.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, spoilers on the first game. My number 97 is an abstract game that is part of a series of games of the GIF series. There's a lot that get ranked on this, but this one is Devon. This one has an oblong hexagonal board.
Okay.
And the way it works is that you are trying to stack pieces on top of others, and the size of the stack is how many spaces in a straight line it can move. So if you move move a stack that has 4 pieces in it, it has to move exactly 4 in a straight line. If it doesn't have anything else that it can land on 4 spaces away, then you can't move it. And there are 3 Devon pieces, which are kind of like the lifeline ones. If you ever move pieces to separate part of the pieces from the board and have it be disconnected from those red, like meaning that there's no adjacent pieces, all of those get removed. So you can force removal of your opponents by doing that. It's really brilliant how it works. I like it a lot. And I won't belabor it. If you like abstract strategies, any of the ones in the GIF series, you should try out. But this one it's up there. It might be, I think it's my second highest of the GIF series, and we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, I don't even know if an abstract strategy made my list. I only kind of glanced at my top 100 because I wanted to be as surprised as you when we started talking about this. And so, my number 97, correct?
97, yep.
Is a game that probably is the only one versus many on my list here. Mind you, I haven't played a lot. But it's the one I've really enjoyed, and I'm surprised it made it this far. And that's Jaws. I really dig Jaws. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the second part of Jaws, where it becomes the battle between the 3 guys in the Jaws character. But I love the hidden movement part of it, where the tension, the anticipation of them trying to find out if they buoyed me or if I have eaten enough people to get bonuses. So what happens in the first part of the game gives bonuses to either side on the second part of the game. So if the human characters do right on their turn, they have better weapons or better chances. And if I do right and eat as many people as I want on my turn, I get bonuses like extra cards and stuff like that in the second half of the game. Whoever wins, if you're doing the 2 parts, whoever wins the second half overall wins the game. Because like if the humans kill the shark loses, the shark destroys the boat and eats all the humans, he wins, and that kind of thing. Really, really good. Very thematic. It comes out. You really feel that tension as you're going around and eating the people if you're the shark, or the guys are going out trying to get the buoys out there for they can catch the shark. And what's cool about that first part of it too is that there's certain cards the shark player can do where he can bypass the buoys or he can be stealthy, but I mean you only play it once and you kind of know each other's decks in a sense. So it's really good. I had a great time with it. I enjoy playing it, and I'm not surprised it squeaked in the top 100.
I certainly need to play my copy. This is good because I do like the movie a lot. My number 96 is a slight spoiler alert for you, Daniel. This is the highest one of the. There's a trilogy of these games, and this is the highest one ranked of the 3. And it's one of the forbidden games.
I'm going to say Island?
Nope. Desert.
Oh, really?
I like Desert quite a bit more.
I like Desert quite a bit more, but you're the one that always pushing Island out.
Mainly at the shop.
Yeah,
because it's easier to learn. I've always compared it to Pandemic Light for Island, whereas Forbidden Desert is a completely different game. It's a slidey puzzle. I
trying to figure out where everything's at.
Yeah, and I like the idea of digging up the sand, like just mitigating the loss. Amazing game.
Great component quality too.
Great component quality.
What? I think it's $30 normally.
It's 25.
25, yeah.
MSRP, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. You have all the sand tokens. You even have like a pewter engine piece. It's just super awesome. I really like it. It's a cooperative game from Matt Leacock and Game Right Games. And if you're familiar with any of 3 of the series, they kind of technically go in order. You escape from the island, and then you crash land in the desert. You have to find this mythical ship or flying ship and the pieces for it, and then you go into the skies for the 3rd one. And I just really like this one. This one's always fun. I always enjoy myself playing it. The only problem is my wife likes this one the least of the 3,
which is shocking because everybody I know personally like this one the most or Island the most, and the one that doesn't get the most love is Sky.
Yeah, Skies is no matter what. No,
Yeah.
Nobody likes that one, apparently. But no, Forbidden Desert, I think it's a fantastic game. That's my number 96.
Ah, that's a good one. Again, another one that didn't cross my list because it is before my record taking.
Yep.
So the next two on my list coming up are fairly new games. The first one being at 96, 5 Minute Mystery.
Oh, wow. Yep.
I've played this a handful of times already, but maybe 2 or 3 times, and I dig this game. This is, and it's basically can you spot this and crack a code? It's fairly simple, but on a time limit. So if you're playing the simple version or the beginning version, they give you about 8 minutes. But as it says in the title, after you get used to it, it becomes like a 5 minute where you have to discover the whodunit in a sense or what they steal, and you got to crack the codes and stuff like that. Really, really good. I highly recommend this game. If you're going to play any of the 5 minute games, 5 Minute Mystery is the one to go with. I like it better than the Dungeon, Marvel, or any of the 5 minutes. I think there's the Dungeon and Marvel, right? And Mystery is by far the best.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much to the point where I enjoyed playing our friend's copy of that one that I sold my 5 Minute Dungeon because I was like, I'm never going to play it again. I'm just going to have to buy 5 Minute Mystery. I still haven't done that yet. So otherwise it might have made the list. I don't think so, but it could have. Maybe after a few more plays.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy this one, so.
All right, my next one, my number 95, is a Stefan Feld game. Gasp. I'll give you a hint. It's a 2-player only Stefan Feld game.
Pillars of the Earth builder.
No.
Really? Oh, it's the Revolution one then.
Yep, Revolution of 1828, yes. The one about the political campaigning. I love the idea of you pull a token, put it on its corresponding row. You're just trying to get the majorities of whatever end up happening there, and they're completely asymmetric. But then certain actions don't help you with anything specific. But there's smear campaigns, and you can really mess with your opponent and then combo it, because as soon as you get the last token from a single category, you shift it over to you, and then you got to take another turn. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
the mudslinging's fun. You don't want too much. Whatever the dark like token is, slander on you because.
Because then you get negative points based on that. So like you could be a complete shyster and completely just destroy your opponent and be like an awful human being, but it's going to kick you in the butt too, because those are negative points that are just going to completely destroy you. And I like how it only scores for if the person has the most and they took the last token from that category too. Like it's so awesome. It's one of my favorite Feld games. I mean, I have quite a few on my list, but there's a reason this is in my top 100.
I'm trying to see.
I've only played it twice.
I do have one Feld coming up on this part of the list, and I know I got a couple more somewhere in there.
Oh, I'm sure we both do.
But again, my number 95 is another more recent game that I've played twice already, and again, it came down to the ranking. Would I play this over this? So it's not the Cult of the New kind of thing in a sense, because the way the ranking worked is gave me 2 choices. Which game would I play over the other? And apparently this one scored pretty high. Mm-hmm. In fact, I just got in and it funded today. Well, I bid on it, but it just funded today. The sequel to this game, and that's Almanac: The Dragon Road.
It's really good.
It's so good. I like the fact that it's kind of like a choose your own adventure game, only if you're the leader, really, because you get to decide where you're going next. It's worker placement. We know how I feel about worker placement. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot going. It's got great components, good card quality. I love the fact that I liked it in Jaws of the Lion, Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, where you have the book was your game board. This does that as well, and it changes depending on which map you're playing on and where you're playing. And then some of the maps will say, hey, you can't go to the very first map. I'll just say this out loud because it's the first map that you play. Yeah. You can't go to the same hut twice. You have 3 workers and there's 4 huts. And you could possibly get a 4th worker somewhere in the beginning of the game, but you're not going to be able to go to any of the huts you already visited, so you can only go to the last hut. And somehow, for some weird reason, if you're able to and get a 5th worker, he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
He's just got you got to pass. You got to move on.
Yep, sorry.
and then you decide where you're going to go to next, because you're basically driving a caravan all the way to the end of the route. And so whoever's the caravan leader decides where they're going next, and that could have different rules based on, you can only go in a straight line, or your people can't be diagonal to each other or orthogonal to each other, or anything like if there's like depth issue or height issue, you can only go so far away from your other pieces. And I think it's phenomenal. I think it's a really good game, a colossal game with Scott Alms, who most people know from the Tiny Epic series. Mm-hmm. It's a phenomenal game, and I'm not surprised it went this high, but I'm also shocked that it went this high because it's fairly new. I've barely played it a couple times recently within the last year.
I will justify that and say that I've only played it once, and I do own it, and it's number 117 on my list. So yes, I couldn't agree more, and I backed the Kickstarter just off of that one play.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. My number 94 is probably the highest scoring Cthulhu themed game on my list, if not one of them, because I don't tend to like that theme all that often. But this is definitely one. Elder Sign.
I was like, I'm trying to remember which ones you like.
That's about it. I mean, not saying there's anything bad about Cthulhu theme. Like, it's fine. It's just that, I didn't like Eldritch Horror. Arkham Horror is okay. Mansions of Madness is cool, but I don't own it, so it wouldn't be on my list.
Yeah.
But Elder Sign is a really smart game. It's so much to the point where that dice system was used again in Age of War, and that was a Reina Knizia game, and I love that game too.
And they also just reprinted Elder Sign with an X-Men theme on it.
That's true. Yeah, they did.
Doesn't play as good as Elder Sign from what I hear, but they do have it.
Oh, it's okay. It's because it's not Cthulhu theme, I guess. But
they changed some of the roles that made Elder Sign really good and made it easier and simpler.
Oh,
and
okay.
Some people thought it was too easily made.
I see. That makes sense. So it's those are probably the people who have played Elder Sign and already grew to love it. And they're like, "Yay, Marvel theme!" Oh wait, it's kind of a down step.
And that's the thing for me too, is that I really, really wanted to play it, but I enjoy Elder Sign. It's one of the first games I've owned, and I still have it. It's down there with the Arkham Horror card game.
It's hard to. That was one of the first Fantasy Flight games that I actively bought, knowing that the price was inexpensive for the level of quality you have. But basically, the idea of the game is that you go to one of the locations, you roll some dice, you're trying to meet a number of objectives. If you roll the right combinations, then you pass that objective. If you pass all the objectives on the card, you've defeated that location. Normally, good things or bad things might happen depending on completing it, and whether you fail or succeed in your rolls. It's awesome. I love the dice mechanism. It's not so thematic that if you hate the Cthulhu theme, you might still enjoy it, because I just think it's a really smart game.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I don't know if it made it into my top 100, but it should be. If it's in there, I understand why it's in there. If not, it probably just missed out, and I didn't pay attention to exactly where it was located. Because, it's a good game. And honestly, I don't remember all my top 100 because I just going off what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. Cool.
And going on to number 94 for me is also another fairly new game, but one we both dig a lot. And that is Rajas of the Ganges.
This would have been in my top 100 if I owned it.
Yeah, I know you went with the 100 limit. Every play of this, and I've only played it like 2 or 3 times, I am enamored with this game.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. I've had a great time with it. It's basically worker placement, dice, action, selection. It's a combo of things. Plus, you got your little tile laying puzzle on your own game board. You're trying to move your boat certain aspects. You're trying to get certain dice to use for your action selection parts of it to trigger certain things. Basically, it boils down to most Euro games, most points at the end of the game. But the mechanism to get there to those points and the choices that you have to make sometimes can be overwhelming, but it's oh so good. And even you have to admit it, it's a pretty game.
Yeah,
it's a very pretty game.
See, they found out that you can actually make a Euro game pretty.
Yeah, and here's one of the reasons why it was needed.
Yeah,
to show that you don't need browns and greens and Alea. pay attention.
Oh, LA is stepping it up. You've seen like their fancy versions now. They're getting better.
Yeah, Castles of Tuscany, or not Tuscany, Castles of Burgundy, the most recent edition.
Carpe Diem, the remake.
Yeah, Carpe Diem. It only took them 3 tries to get it right.
Yeah. But they got there. We got to give them that. Good pick, yeah. My number 93 is probably one of the heavier games on my list. And I don't think you've played it, but it's from Mind Clash Games. And I know, and they tend to make the heavier ones. And this is the only one of their games that I own. Not by choice. I would gladly own more. If I had an Acrony, I would totally play it. Anyway, this is Tricerion, Legends of Illusion.
No, I haven't played that one.
No, you haven't. Yeah, you're sending out your workers and your magician out to different places, getting materials that you need, learning tricks, putting them together, and performing. The art on it is absolutely stunning. If you've never seen the board, you need to see that board. One of the best parts is that when you perform a trick, you actually go to the stage and you see like this nice like quarter circle, like round stage area, and the audience, that's your score point. And so you're keeping track of like how many audience you're attracting, thus your points, by performing these. And it's super neat. Each worker that you send out have a different number of like action points that they can take, which matter in different things, and they each have kind of their own specialty, which is something you hardly see anymore. Worker placements, normally you just have generic pieces that you just throw out there, and that's what it is. No, this is brilliant how that works. So I think it's absolutely phenomenal. Tricerion, Legends of Illusion from Mind Clash Games, my number 93.
All right. I haven't played that one. I've been wanting to. I just haven't got a chance.
You will. I'll make you.
Of course you will. It's better than playing one of yours.
Oh!
So my number 93 here is also not relatively new in a sense, but relatively new to me. We just recently played it because our mutual friend, the Gamehead Geek, got it, and we were actually got a chance to play it. Both of us have been wanting to play it too, and that is Pitch Car.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had a blast with this, and it between this one and another game that I'm sure is on this list, I'll talk about later, realize how much fun dexterity games can be when it's not Rampage or Terror in Meeple City, where you're trying to, flick a car and try to destroy a building and stuff like that. When you're just flicking a car around a racetrack and trying to win, it is hilarious. You have a great time.
Yeah.
When dexterity games aren't trying to take themselves serious, that's when they just really hit for me. And I just described Pitch Car real easily. You're flicking a car around a track trying to be the first person to cross the finish line.
That's it.
They have some special rules, like if you go off the track, your whole turn is getting back on the track. If your car flips when you flick it and it ends up flipped, your whole turn is flipping it back and stuff like that. So that's the majority of it. And you can the base game itself, and mind you, it's not cheap. It's one of the more expensive games. But a lot of dexterity games, the good quality ones, are a lot higher in price. But you could, in the base game itself, you can have 4 different tracks alignment. You can make your 4 different tracks alignment. And then there's a bunch of expansions where it adds loops and jumps and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed the one play I had of it, and it shows because it made it this far. In fact, when I was going through that and clicking, I'm like, God, I really want to play Pitch Car again. I had a blast with this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Pitch Car, my number 93.
So I knew when going into making this list that we were going to butt heads on a few of these.
Here we go.
And this is definitely one that I'm willing to bet, I haven't seen your list, but I'm willing to bet it's higher up on your list. And I think you're going to be upset that it is so far down on mine. But my number 92 is Just One.
Where's my beating stick?
Just One. Yeah, no, it's the Spiel des Jahres winner. Phenomenal party game. And I know why it's low. And that's just
you have
because,
no taste.
No, shush. The reason why it's so low compared to a lot of other party games that are probably going to be on my list higher is that it's more of an activity, and it's more like, oh, you could score technically up to 13 points, but really the scoring, it doesn't matter, right? You're just trying to go. If you wanted to play in a different way, you could play a variant where you just keep going until you get, a certain number of scores and see how many cards it took you to get there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways you can approach it, but really I feel like the scoring part of it makes it less of a game and more of just an activity. And it's a phenomenal activity, and I love it. And there's a reason it's on my top 100, because there's so many good games. But it's just, it only makes top 90s.
I wish I had one of those things where I could do like the please stand by and they can hear the beating in the background but not see the visual violence.
Hey, you're the editor. Go ahead. Just, what the...
So that was your number
92.
92. So my number 92 is another game we're going to butt heads about, because you're not a huge fan of this, and I think it's a big part of it because of the luck on a certain part, which is an important part of the game. And that is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. I love this game. I love the worker placement aspect of it. You're basically the heir of Victor Frankenstein, trying to make your own abomination out there and bringing the dead to life. And he doesn't like it because the dice rolling makes it too lucky for him, because you have to reanimate it. I like it because, honestly, you're reanimating dead flesh. It's got to be lucky. And so I enjoy it. It's dark theme, so be careful when you bust this out. Make sure everyone's aware how dark it is, because there's a spot on here where you can literally murder to get the freshest of corpse. So, but I really enjoy it. I love the Frankenstein story. The movies, I've read the book as well. I actually have read the author Dean Koontz's upgraded version of it, where he brought him into the normal time of it, just because I love that aspect. I love that mad scientist story, and I get to be the mad scientist. A Plaid Hat game that's very well produced. I have a great time playing it. I just don't pull it out as much, and this is another one of your arguments, is that it takes longer than it really should. But I really enjoy it, and that's why I'm glad it got into my top 100. Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein.
And now the gloves are on, because and my argument is not. I think the reason I disliked it so much is because I was so excited to play it, and I really was. I love the theme. I'm okay with dark themes.
Yeah,
I watch B horror movies all the time. I love classics, and that storyline was fantastic. So when I heard about it, I was like, "This has got to be good." And I must have put it on such a high bar that when I played, I was like, wow, you're going really out of your way. This is super convoluted. And then you completely lost because you rolled badly once at the end. It's like, oh, God, no, this is stupid. I'm sorry. I can't justify that being on your 100, even though you made it. I apologize for his
you
list.
Got one of those glyph games, Devore or whatever, so...
Devon?
Whatever. Yeah.
You're just making up words now.
You're making up words. No one's heard of that.
At least two people have heard of it. Me and the designer. No, Devon's very popular. Matthew Jude from Watch It Play.
Let me rephrase that. People with taste.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, speaking of this next game, has about 1 million themes on it and took the world by storm, as far as I'm concerned. My number 91, 18 cards. 18 cards. That's all it took. Do you know what game it is?
I'm thinking if it's the one that's re-themed up the wazoo, it's Codenames.
No, 18 cards. That's all the game is. Some tokens. Love Letter.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep, Love Letter. It's so good. I mean, Love Letter.
It's 5x5.
I can get so many people into playing Love Letter just by busting out this little pouch. 18 cards, like, all right, yeah, it plays 2 to 4 players really efficiently. It works really well. Sure, you might get eliminated on the first round, but it's multiple rounds, multiple hands. It appeals to people who play classic card games. It appeals to gamers because there's some actual depth and strategy into it. It appeals to people who play poker because there's easily bluffing in it. And it's just, like, it's technically resource management because you're trying to have the highest number at the end, assuming you make it that far. It's so brilliant. I still bring out my copy every once in a while, and I probably own about 10 copies or so of different themes.
I wouldn't say
Love Letter is amazing.
Brilliant, but it's good.
It did more for 18 card games than almost any other game.
I get you what it did. I wouldn't say brilliant. It just it hit at the right time, in all honesty.
You don't think it would stand on its own now if it came out?
AEG sold it to Asmodee, and it's not even charting on the top buys and stuff like that.
No.
With games nowadays,
Because most people, it's at such a low price point that I think most people who wanted to own it probably own it.
Yeah, and the thing is, and like you said, there's many themes on it.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Batman theme. Their most recent one that had the love letter was the Infinity Gauntlet theme.
Yep.
It's fine. I enjoy it. I was ranking the Batman on this list because, again, I went with if it played is pretty much the same. I eliminated it, and so I went with the Batman theme because that's the one I own and enjoy. But even then, I don't even think it cracked the top 200 on my list. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I don't even think it cracked the top 200.
We'll find out when it's like number 5 or something. You're
it's not that high.
Wait, love letter.
So my number 91.
Yeah, let me see your list real quick.
Yeah, my number 91 is something we need to play some more of, but I really, really enjoyed this game. I just got the big box of it. It's a Stefan Feld. Right over there. And that is Merlin. I love the roll and move part of this, where it's you can choose which die you're using. You get 4 dice. You get 3 of your color and 1 of Merlin. Merlin is the only one that can go forward or backwards, depending on which way you want to take him. That's only the white die you have. There's an expansion. The Arthur expansion gives you a black die where you can move the Arthur on the rondel. I don't know if he can move forward or backwards as well as Merlin, but I really enjoy it. I love the little mini games that you're also playing. So you're trying to get certain things and make sure you don't get hit by people who are invading. But also you have this little area control part of the game where you're trying to build over there and make connections. And again, it's another Euro where it's Stefan Feld at that. It's a point salad. So there's a theme on it and it makes sense, but it's all about getting your points and getting how you want to play. And for me, Merlin is climbing up there. I need to play it more, though. I wish there was like a solo mode where I could bust it out of the table and play it by myself if I needed to. But number 91, Merlin.
I want to say I took this off my list because I do own it, but I only played it that once that we showed, and that was quite some time ago.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I remember I enjoyed it a lot, but I could not for the life of me remember how to play it.
And the fact that he made roll and move really good.
Yeah, he did.
And makes sense.
Absolutely. My number 90 is technically now a mass market game because it is the 3rd most selling board game in history. Do you know which one that is? It is the granddaddy of Euro games. Come on now.
Catan?
Catan, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's like Monopoly...
Monopoly, Scrabble, and Catan.
Catan,
those are the 3 highest selling board games. I mean, probably other than, like, you can't quantify, like, chess or something. Like
and I think Ticket to Ride is like 4.
No, it's nowhere near that much. Like, Life and all those.
Not sold over 20 million or something like that.
Yep, it has, but it's... Yeah, we'll have to find out. But I know Catan is definitely the 3rd. And, which is awesome. I'm super glad of that because it's a good game. You know, some people have burnt themselves out. Yeah, and it's fine. You know, but considering it's 1994, it's held up. You know, mostly since then, especially with all these like newer Euro games that are also really awesome. It still holds its own.
I think the problem with Catan for me is that they made a game better. That's also Catan. I really, really dug Starfarers of Catan.
Sure, and I don't disagree with that, but what I think it did for the market and what it definitely did for my family is it took the concept of Monopoly and made it into a Euro game. Because a big part of what makes Monopoly enjoyable for families to play is that wheeling and dealing and trading, and that's what this is all about. But with a good game on top of it, of a Euro game, and it's a brand new concept, but I mean, I still have people coming into the shop saying... It's like, yeah, like I played all the normal games like Monopoly and Life and Catan, and they always praise Catan for that reason. And it's just like, it's constant in our house. We love it. So Catan, it had to be on my list.
Speaking of which, we're going to get off tangent here real quick, but did you know there's a neighborhood that's being built out here where we live that street names are named after Monopoly?
I would believe that.
There is a Marvin Gardens, a Chance, I think it's like Chance Street or Place. I think there's a Community Chest Drive or something like that on there. And then, of course, there's Boardwalk, which doesn't really make sense out here. But they misspelled it. It's called Boradwalk. BORAD walk.
Where is the... Okay, we'll talk about that later, but... What?
I kid you not.
Wow. Borad walk. All right.
All right, so...
Well done, Las Cruces. Sometimes. My number 90, Catan. Speaking of Monopoly.
My number 90 is a newer game that I really enjoy. You don't really like it as much. We've played it multiple times with our mutual friend. And this one is a card game from Fantasy Flights. Has a Marvel theme on it.
Oh, yeah.
Marvel Champions, the card game. I'm surprised it made it this far up this list, honestly.
Surprised, yeah.
Because, and I know this one is higher because I saw it, but there's another game along this line that I really, really enjoy more. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I have a good time playing this game. Every time I've played it, I've enjoyed it. It's fine solo. I like the other one, which I don't want to name names, but you can probably infer what it is, because it's storyline based. And this one kind of has storyline based, but it wasn't built for that in a sense. It's basically one-shots for people. But I enjoy it. If you like card crafting that you get from, or not card crafting, but like deck building that you would get from something like Magic the Gathering, where you pre-build your deck before the start of the game, decide what villains you're going to face, just choose who you're going to face, what superhero you want to play, and build it up and stuff like that. I think you'll have a good time with this game. But just know it's a money sink. It's a living card game for a reason. So if you're someone who wants to chase that dragon and try to get everything, I don't recommend it because it's going to get really, really expensive. I do it more so for the other game. This one, I just pick and choose what I like. Oh, this one's going to have Thanos. I'll grab that. Oh, this has the Red Skull. Okay, sure, maybe. If I catch it on a deal, I'll pick that one up. Or the Quicksilver. I'm not a huge fan of Quicksilver in the comics, so I'll probably pass on that one. But, oh, look, this has the X-Men or Cyclops or something in it. I'll probably pick that one up. So I really enjoy it. I have a good time with it, but it's not my favorite game out of the LCGs, but it's up there, apparently.
Apparently? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I get why a lot of people like it. So my number 89, I feel like such a pompous guy. Like just like,
oh, you're going to hate my 89 when I get to it.
Oh, probably.
This is one you hate.
I think you'll be surprised that this one is not as high. This is another dexterity game, and this is a card game. It's basically like reverse Jenga. You are building the tower, moving the rhino, stacking cards sideways and upways and all sorts of different things. Rhino Hero.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, Rhino Hero is so good. It hits every time we played it. It's just absurd. Like, there was one time that somebody accidentally, they were trying to shuffle and they bent one of my cards in half and creased it. And they looked at me so scared, like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, now it's harder. It's like, oh, that card is just, it adds a speed bump and it's fine, whatever. It's cheap enough where I could buy it. I have Super Battle,
and it's
I
funny.
Buy the huge version.
I want to pay for the $100 for that huge version because that thing is fantastic.
Yeah, it looks phenomenal.
I haven't played it. From what I've seen of it, that thing looks phenomenal. Our mutual friend, the one we talked about, Gamehead Geek, his wife wouldn't be able to play it unless she had a stepladder.
Or you played off to the floor. And
well,
even then,
no, technically you're playing it off the floor. But because they're decent size, they're like 4 times Terrell size or something like that.
Yeah, no, they're
so huge. You get to like 3 stories and it's already 5 feet high.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. No, Rhino Hero is a phenomenal game, and I know how much you like it. I'm curious to see where it'll place on your list, if it does.
I don't think it did, because I don't remember coming up. I probably hadn't had it tracked. It's been a while since I've actually played it.
Sure.
But it didn't come up on my thing that I remember. I could be wrong, because there was, I think, going through it, it said I had like 1,900 plus battles between the games, and so I'm like, I don't remember everything that came up. So that's why I said this is kind of a surprise to me as well, because I don't remember where everything landed.
Would it have placed, do you think?
Probably, honestly, I think it would at least make it into this part of it, the bottom 20, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I love Rhino Hero. It's one of the best kids games, and so much to the point where the majority of my plays are adults.
Here's the thing. That makes a good kids game if you think about it. If kids can play it and have fun, but then adults can play it and giggle, a case in point, I don't think this song's on my list, but it might be, I don't know.
Lupin
Coconuts.
Louie. Yeah, Coconuts. Okay.
Not Lupin Louie. The best
yes.
play of that is a dexterity game of Looping Louie when you throw it in the fireplace.
Speaking of, we need to discuss burning components here later. Something came to my mind earlier. But Rhino Hero, my number 89, phenomenal game.
Yeah, no, I admit that's a great game. Number 89 is something you won't admit it's a great game that you hate and loathe, and we talk about it time.
Thumbs down ready.
And that is a Garp Hill game. Architects of the West Kingdom. I really, really enjoy this one. I just backed the big box for it so I can get the newest expansion in the big box. I still got to get the first expansion.
So you can finally fit the components in the
No.
box.
That's Paladins. I can fit the components in Architects. It's Paladins that you can't. And I got the big box for that one as well.
Yeah.
But Architects of the West Kingdom, I like it. One of the things I really like about it, it's a worker placement game where you're putting your workers out. And the more workers you have in a certain spot, the more resources you get for it, but it could also be enticing for the part you hate, where other people can capture your worker to make some money after selling them into the jail. It's really phenomenal, in my opinion. I really, really enjoy the game. What I like about it is it did something different in worker placements that I haven't seen a lot of. You start with all your workers, and then it becomes minimized as you go across the game. It's really enjoyable. I had a good time. I love the art on it. It's probably, I wouldn't say my favorite of the Garp Hill games. I think there's one that's higher on this list. But I really, really enjoy Architects of the West Kingdom. I know you hate it.
Mm-hmm. So, if you've heard our previous podcast, you know why. My number 88, and I think this is going to be one that you're going to be surprised is not anywhere near as high as it is. Or it should be higher, probably in your opinion. For Sale.
For Sale didn't even make my top 100. So
really, you're not a fan of For Sale?
No, I love For Sale. I just didn't make my top 100.
Really? Okay, yeah. I think, I have so many great card games that you're going to see later on my list that it's just I couldn't justify it. I do play it a lot, and I enjoy every single time, and I think it's really one of the smartest games that's on my list. But For Sale, it's very simple. You have a bunch of different money cards, or you have money, and you're auctioning off different number cards, which are buildings. And they rank anywhere from 1 to 30. And then once those are all auctioned off, then you use those buildings, flip them from way more money, and most money wins at the end of the game. It's a 2-stage thing that works really well.
You use your money to buy property, and you use that property to buy money.
Well, that's the point of flipping houses, right?
Yeah.
And it works really well. And it's just, I love the illustrations on it. Like, like some of the houses are anywhere from like a space station to a cardboard box, for like some of the lower numbers. It's fun to just kind of bid and kind of like make up stories behind each one of those, and then it works really well on both halves of the game, and it's simple enough to come back that it had to be my number 88, and that's For Sale.
That's a good choice. Like I said, I don't think it broke into my top 100. But my number 88, I'm surprised did in a sense. But once looking at it, I realized how much I really, really enjoy this game. And it's probably one of the more simpler games on my list. Not that simple, but Bruno Cathala about ants.
Oh.
Micropolis.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy this. It's a tile laying game where you're bidding on the tile by using your soldier ants, because it's got that small world where you have to spend ants to get further down the track to get something you really want. And there's different combinations of how you lay it out. So you only want one queen in a chamber. Every time you bring out a nursery and lay it out, you can bring ants into the fold. If you bring an armory, you can bring your ants down in your top into the bottom, because the ants, once they go in there, they're going to score you points. However, if they're your soldier ants at the top, those are how you're going to buy anthills. So if I take one that has 3 ants on it, I get 3 extra ones to put into my thing, and I think you can hold about 10 of them up there. And you play in a few rounds. I think it's like 8 to 10 rounds, something like that, because you're just making an entire anthill. And so you're trying to get like different fruits in a line, because their points compound each different fruit you get in there. And there's just many ways to score, different ways to score. And I really, really dig this one. It's probably one of the simplest Cathala games on my list. And hands down, it's one of my favorite games to play. If someone says, hey, let's bust it out, I'm down anytime. I just wish I thought this would probably be higher. Just more and more I think about it.
Yeah, and it might climb still.
Yeah, because I really, really enjoy it. It's probably close to being one of my favorite Cathalas. I could see it upseating other games that I really like that are probably higher on this list.
Yeah,
The more I play
need
it.
to play it more.
Yeah.
Because then it'll probably climb on mine as well. But it's not on my top 100. Spoiler alert.
Well, you don't own it, so it doesn't qualify.
I do own it.
Oh, you do?
I do. I do own it. I bought it soon after you taught it. I thought it was phenomenal, so I bought it. It's really good. My number 87 is a Tiny Epic game, and it's probably my favorite in the line. I don't know if it's my highest ranked, but I do know it's my favorite of them, and it's the only cooperative one. Tiny Epic Defenders.
Defenders. Yeah. I forgot about that one.
And
that's the one I always forget about.
Yeah, and that's, because it's so different.
Yeah.
It's very different. And then what makes it so different is that it's a tower defense, and I like how the first round is very simple. Your actions come up with which cards of yours are playing. And so what'll happen is if the red player, if you flip over his card, they take 3 actions. And then, so what happens from there is that after you go through the next round, you add in another bad guy. So you kind of know what's coming up already, but there's going to be at least one more surprise and longer time in between your actions. I think it's really brilliant. It's absolutely ridiculous at the same time, and it can be quite a bit of a challenge. I think the only reason why it's not higher on my list, and why you'll see other co-ops from there, is that it doesn't necessarily escalate. It kind of just turns from off to on. So I feel like the first few rounds are so easy, then suddenly it becomes really hard all of a sudden. And there's always a flip where it changes from that. And I think that's the only reason why it's not as high as it could be. But Tiny Epic Defenders, if you like cooperative games and you like Tiny Epic series, you need to have this in your collection.
Yeah, Tiny Epic Defenders, I barely remember playing it. You showed it to me once. I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of the Tiny Epics. I don't know if a Tiny Epic has made my list, but if I had to choose a Tiny Epic, it would probably be Quest.
Really? Okay.
But going on to my number 87 is a game you and I can finally both agree on that we both like. And that is...
Finally in agreement, huh?
Yeah. It's a bit of a hidden betrayer game. It took Dixit to a whole nother level and enhanced another game on that list, Mysterium. This one is Obscurio.
Obscurio, yeah.
I really dig this game. I've enjoyed the plays that I had of it. What I like about it is because it changes. So, when something bad comes up, or the storyteller, I guess you could say, whatever. I forget what the guy you're trying to win, who's giving the clues.
I don't remember.
In this one, well, he's got certain things that he doesn't get to choose. They just kind of flip up and it says, oh, this is now cloudy, so you can't really see it too well, or you only get to flip 2 cards instead of 3, or there's different things that point, because you're trying to escape, but there's a traitor who's trying to make sure you're not trying to escape. He's the one that the curator of the library is telling you to stay away from. And it is phenomenal. I don't know if I like this more than Mysterium, and I think it's going to reflect on this list as well. But I could see it climbing. I just think Mysterium, other than the end of it, the last section to overall win, is a bit finicky. And I know they changed it with the most recent Mysterium Park or something like that. But Obscurio, I could see maybe unseating it somewhere down the line. I just like the fact that Mysterium is purely a co-op.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has that hidden betrayer where not a lot of people are going to like it, but I dig this game. I think it's phenomenal. It's not overly expensive, and it's really well produced. It's not one I own, but again, I have a rule about trying not to own games that other people already own.
Yeah.
That are in my game group. You have it, and in my other game group, one of them have it already.
Obscurio?
Yeah.
I don't know an Obscurio.
Or maybe it's our other mutual friend that has it.
Maybe. There's a store demo.
No, the store, yeah. But yeah, so maybe I'll pick it up for myself, but I really enjoy this game.
Cool. Yeah, Obscurio is awesome. Good pick. My number 86 is, I'm going to give you very quick guesses to try and guess. First off, it's a dungeon crawl.
It's not Gloomhaven.
Secondly, it's a dice game.
Is it Dungeon Roll?
Dungeon Roll. Wow, only took 2 guesses. Good job. Yeah, from Tasty Minstrel Games. It comes in. My next clue is going to be it comes in a treasure chest, and then it's versus, not cooperative, and then it's a press your luck. But yeah, no, Dungeon Roll, it's awesome. It has all the elements that I really enjoy. Fantasy theme aside, I love the press your luck. I love the idea that you start with all your workers, like how you were saying.
Yeah.
But you're basically expending them in different combinations, and then knowing like if the dragon is looming over you, if the person who's rolling the bad dice for you, you could play it 1 player, or technically an infinite number of players. It would just take a long time.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of like whoever's rolling the bad dice, they pick it like, ooh, it's a dragon. They just place it right in front of you, ominously. It's always done good. All of the characters are really fun. Once you hit 5 experience points, they upgrade to their newer abilities. It's so fantastic. I think Dungeon Roll is just really a game that it had a lot of popularity and it sold really well. But now that I don't know what's happening with Tasty Minstrel, who knows what's going to happen to this game?
Have you heard the news about Tasty Minstrel?
No. But
so the most recent news about it, and I'll be quick about it, is that they're not producing any more games. They're closing up shops on the production of the game. They're reeling back. So they most recent Kickstarter, they've refunded all the money for the most recent Kickstarter, and they're also just going to focus on the time being for their dice company. They produce dice, and so that's all they're going to focus on. And hopefully, in a couple years, I think it was like 2 to 5 years, they can come back and start producing the game. But they're basically shuttering the board game.
That's a shame, because I really do appreciate Tasty Minstrel, and I don't want to see that happen to any small board game companies, regardless.
But honestly, with the way things are going right now, with
you can't blame them.
With the pandemic that shut down, and then being able to print games was really expensive, and still kind of is the increase, and then trying to get them shipped over here. That's the thing everybody's seeing, is the cost of shipping games back to America because of the shipping canisters or whatever. They're through the roof.
Containers.
Dice Tower, I was talking about, like, for their most recent Kickstarter for all the backing stuff, it cost them upwards to $20,000 to get a container over here, and when they would cost them maybe $4,000 or $5,000 in the past.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a sad thing that's happening to the market, but I hope this game doesn't go under, or at least finds a new home, if nothing else, because Dungeon Roll is amazing, and I don't want to see it go anywhere. I absolutely love it. If you haven't tried it, go try it, because it's really great.
All right. You mentioned it earlier in the 90s of a Cthulhu Mythos game. This one is number 86 for me, and it's not a I gave it away. It's a CMON Cthulhu Mythos game. That is Cthulhu Death May Die. I actually really, really enjoy this game, and it's made by 2 of my favorite designers, Rob Davio and Eric Lang. It's fun. I have a great time playing it. There's a lot going on with it. However, it's at points where it's a lot on the board at one time, so you can get overwhelmed with what's going on. But I have a good time playing it, and it's Cthulhu Death May Die.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't played it, so I know nothing of it. And and our friend Creative Chaos point out, at least they're not having to close completely. So that's good.
Yeah.
They're still trying. I wish them the best. My number 85 is another Press Your Luck game. This was from Mayday Games. It's a card game only. I don't know. I don't think you'd like this one all that much from what I remember. But it is a Press Your Luck card game where if you get 2 of the same suit upon pressing your luck, then you bust and you're out for the round. And that is Dead Man's Draw. No, I didn't think you'd like this one. But I absolutely love it. So much I just recently got a copy of the deluxe version of it, and with playmats, and I'm trying to find a box that it would fit in. So I'll figure that out sooner than later. But yeah, I think this game is absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad I own it, and it's been one of the funnest Press Your Luck games I've ever owned. Hands down. That's all I'm going to say about it. If you haven't tried it, I believe it was based off of an app originally. Like, I think the app came first, and then they made a card game based on the app. And so, if you haven't tried it, go play it.
Yeah, no, I'm not a huge fan of this game, but I understand why people like it. It's okay for me.
Yeah.
It does. I like Press Your Luck. This one just doesn't hit. So my number 85 is an Azul game.
Hmm.
Can you guess which one?
I am going to guess the original.
No.
Summer Pavilion, then.
Yep.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be the middle one.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the stained glass Essentra. I think it's what it's called.
Yeah.
But I really, really enjoy Summer Pavilion. I like the fact that it's more, I guess you could say, than the original one, where you're building a flower pattern and then trying to enclose different things to get the bonuses, as well as trying to make sure you get the right amount for you can get the extra bonus that's over there, bonus tile that you can get. And it's beautiful. It's probably one of the more beautiful games out there. And that's saying something. All these Azuls are really good. And I understand why they did it for stained glass Essentra, because they're trying to make it look like stained glass. But when you compare Azul, the original, and Azul Summer Pavilions, the clay bay, colorful tiles, to the plasticky, see-through tiles, it just, that one doesn't hit as well as the other two. I mean, Sagrada does stained glass better than the stained glass Essentra. But Azul Summer Pavilion is probably my favorite one of the bunch, I would have to say. I don't know if something hits it higher, but I think this is the highest. So, that's number 87, Azul Summer Pavilion.
Number 87?
85, sorry.
85. I was like, wait a minute, hold on, we're going backwards now.
Yeah.
My number 84 is my third Press Your Luck game in a row. It goes to show how much I do like Press Your Luck as a mechanism. I've incorporated in my games before, and that's because I really do enjoy them. This one is probably even more simple than Dead Man's Draw, and more simple than Dungeon Roll. And I just recently found out that they're actually selling copies of this at Target. And I'm so excited about that. No Thanks.
Yeah,
no. Oh, No Thanks is so good. Phenomenal game. It has no right being that fun. Basically, everybody gets a bunch of tokens, I think 11 starting off. And you have cards that are numbered between 3 and 35. You mix them up, take out, I think, like 9 of them, and then you go around, flip over a single card. If it's your turn to pick, you either put a token on it and say no thanks and just pass it on to the next player, or you take the card and every token that's on it. I think it's fantastic how it works. I think it's really smart because each token is minus 1 point, and each card you don't 1 point, so the lowest score wins. But if you get cards that are in consecutive order, they combine and you just count the lowest one. So if I have a 32, a 33, and a 34, then I only have 32 points, even though I took like the higher numbers. So the first part of the game is just kind of like, oh, well, nobody wants a 30 or even a high 20.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you see like somebody. And one of my favorite decisions in this game, and what makes it so good, is that if let's say I have number 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number 20 comes up, sure, it would make the most sense for me to take it. But it also doesn't make sense for anybody else to take it. So the question is, can I put a token on it and pass on it and see if everyone will still pass on it again? And how many times can I do that to get more tokens? That's a really valuable decision in that game, which sets it apart from almost anything. It has no right being that smart. It's ridiculous how smart that game is, and I adore it. It's No Thanks, my number 84. And if you see how excited I'm getting about these games right now, just wait till the next ones.
So, I just want to make mention if people were noticing, it was a work-related situation that I was doing over there. Yep. Also, I'm not a fan of No Thanks, to the point where, you know how I feel about Llama. Yep. I'm okay with Llama. I'd rather play Llama over No Thanks.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of No Thanks. I understand it. I love card games. I love card games. It's just not one that hit for me.
You like more complex card games. Like you...
I don't know if I like more complex.
The more rules that there are, the more comfortable you are with it. Like,
I guess I like Bugs on a Rug. All right, that's the simplest game I've owned card game wise. I love Trash Pandas and Abandon All Artichokes. Those are not complicated games.
Yeah, but they are incredibly complex compared to No Thanks. No Thanks is literally, the mechanism is throw a coin at it. That's the complexity that you're involved.
All right, so we're at 84, correct?
Yes, that was my number 84.
You want complexity? With lots of rules?
Bring it.
My number 84, known as Gone Sean Clever. Otherwise, That's pretty clever.
Yeah. It's like, how many rules can we put in a dice game?
And there's quite a bit. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, there's quite a bit of rules in this, because it's like, oh, how do I use this die, or if he's taking that 3 die, I can't use that die, or let's combine these 2 dice where you can score in this one little area. There's a lot going on in it, but for a worker placement game, or not a worker, roll and write game, it's pretty complex, but it's not that bad. I really, really enjoy this game. I've played it a couple times just recently, and I'm surprised. I've recently first played this within a month. Mm-hmm. A couple times, and it's climbed this far up my list. But it's a roll and write. They're simple games, so I'm not surprised it climbed that far up my list. But it's phenomenal. I have to pick this one up for myself. That's how much I enjoyed it. You roll 6 dice. If you're the active player, you keep 3 dice to score on your game board. The yellow die scores in the yellow area. The blue die scores with the white die. You combine the numbers, and you score in the blue area. You don't even have to take the white die. It's just they combine. The green die, I believe, scores. You just put a number in there, and as far as you go, you get points. The orange die, you have to use the greater number until you hit 6, and then you can recycle it all the way down. And then I think the purple die, you kind of, the numbers can't equal. So if you put a 2 on one side, a 4 has to, or something, a 1 or a 4 has to be on the other side. It's something weird like that. Really enjoyable. It's really good. And then you get like bonuses, so you can re-roll your actions. You can also re-roll or use an extra die, so you can use 4 or 5 die. The white die is a wild, so you can use it how to score in any one of the areas. So I really enjoy it. I had a good time with it. I want to buy it. I heard the app's really good. So that is Gone Clever, or That's Pretty Clever, which is the English version.
You know, I was just looking through my list. I don't think I have any roll and writes on any of my top 100. I might be eating my words right now, but let's find out. But that next one is definitely not a roll and write. and speaking of actually complex rules, it's one of the heavier games on here, to an extent. It's a hidden trader game, potentially hidden trader game, with a huge storytelling element. Mm-hmm. You're surviving the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, okay, yeah, that does have storytelling. I keep forgetting there's a bit of campaign in that. Mm-hmm. Well, not campaign, but there's stories.
Yeah, the crossroads. Yeah, in Dead of Winter, yeah, basically everybody is mostly working together, but you all have your own hidden objectives. I don't care what anybody. I don't care what anybody says about it. I've heard other reviewers say it's like, well, no, it's like why am I competing for my own thing? It's like to add flavor to the game. Like that's why. It's like,
have they not watched The Walking Dead or read the comic The Walking Dead? Everybody's out for themselves, yeah.
Absolutely. You can only win together as a group, and you sometimes have to put aside your differences to do it. But you are ultimately trying to win. And if the group doesn't win, then you definitely don't. And only with the group winning do you have a chance of meeting your own objective. Yeah. I think that's smart the way it works,
and not just that, and then the betrayer himself is trying to keep you from winning, and I love the voting in it too.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think it's a really smart game. I like the way it works. There's a lot of dice rolling, but it works out well, because every character has kind of like their own little skill, and so even if you roll low and you don't get the kind of rolls that you want, you can still do a lot of actions that work really well. Yeah, it's really awesome. That's Dead of Winter, a Crossroads game, and I combined that and Long Night.
Yeah, so when it came to me, when I did it, I think it might be on my list. I don't know. Or it could be in the bottom of the 100s. But with this one, I took out Long Night when I was reviewing both. I took out Long Night and just went with the regular Dead of Winter because they're essentially the same game. Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. It's a really good game. Let's see if it's further on my list because it's a surprise to me too.
I love this example. Zombie apocalypse equals everyone working together to take advantage of each other. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's human nature to look out for their own. So
absolutely.
That was number 83. So for my number 83 is on the complete opposite end of this, of complex and co-op and storytelling. This is about making potions and making things explode. Potion Explosion.
Oh. Thought it was something else.
I really dig this game. And it's funny because I just got it back to the table not too long ago. We talked about it in one of our chits and giggles. Oh man, I love this game. And the only problem is that I didn't get to the table is because I really love the app the app of this game. It's a phenomenal app. And so it's like, oh, I'll just play this because it's right here on my phone and I have a great time with it. But the game is amazing. I have a great time with it. What you're doing is you're trying to get as much points by become the new apprentice to the teacher, the professor, or something like that. Yes, it's actually called Potion Explosion. And you're trying to make explosions as you're going. So what's going to happen is if you're going to pull a black marble that's in between, let's say, 4 blue marbles, you pull that black one, that's the marble you get to use. But once those blues hit each other, they explode, and you get to take those and use them in your potion mixes as well. And I love the fact that some of the potions have powers too. So if I had a rainbow potion, I can use all colors in different ways. So like some potions were like you need a black and two blacks up in this area, but you need 3 blues down here and a couple yellows at the bottom. Whereas if you use the rainbow potion, you can put your blues in your yellow spots and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter, but you can only use them one time unless you have a time potion that allows you to bring another potion back. And I just love that it's slightly engine building and everything's just comboing on each other. And then you could take negative points to help you pull another marble if you need be, but you don't get the explosion on that. And it's phenomenal. It's a great game, and I'm glad it's in my top 100.
Yeah, it's basically like an app turned into a game.
Yeah, in a sense.
My number 82 we're at. I own it. I've never played a physical copy of it. I've only ever played digital copies of it. Yeah, I know it doesn't help you with anything, so it means I probably haven't played it with you, but I absolutely like the way it works. It's a dice resource management game. Basically, you're paying for cards using dice around the 4 seasons, and that is seasons from Yellow Games. I think it's a fantastic game. It's one of those games that, after I had played the digital version of it, I thought it was so fun how it worked that I ended up seeking out a physical copy. So as soon as we went on our board game trade runs that we do from time to time, and I went out of my way. As soon as I saw it, that's mine.
Yeah.
Not even questioning it. It's mine 100%. It is really fun. I like the mess out of it. And I like how, you can predict the way that the dice are laid out is that certain dice give you different resources based on the season. Of course, like fire or water, or fire is more common in the summer, you know. And so that's something that you can plan for when trying to play your cards. I think it's really cool. That's seasons. I don't have anything else to say about it. 82.
I haven't played it, so I can't make much choices of it. Other than I heard
really think you'll dig
it's
it.
Really mean. It can be mean at times.
No, I suppose, because it's dice drafting.
Yeah.
And what makes it neat is that there's always one more die than the number of players, and each of the dice faces has like 1, 2, or 3 dots on it, and so the die that is left over determines how short the round is. So if you had a choice between 2 dice that have the same resources, you could, but like longer or more dots on one of them, you could force the next season quicker by your choice of drafting. I think that's really cool. And that makes a very meaningful choice, even between dice that are almost the same.
All right, well, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of this episode. So let's get into the fist fight, another game that you won't like. And my number 82 here, and you're gonna be hurt if you try to fist fight me. I lift refrigerators for a living. And that is Wasteland Express Delivery Service. Yeah, go ahead. Go play with the new puppy.
That's the thing. I have nowhere to go. I walked around the desk.
All right, so Wasteland Express Delivery Service is a delivery game, a pick up and deliver game in post-apocalyptic world. I know you don't like it. There's some finicky rules in it. But man, this theme comes out with it when you're fighting the bandits, trying to make sure you're delivering water or ammo or whatever to the different locations. I really, really enjoy this game. And Critter Chaos says, you guys got quite opposite taste. Yeah, I love theme, he loves bland.
I like good.
No, you don't.
You're
Had no.
okay with a bad game that has a really good theme to it.
You had no thinks on your list, and that's a bad game. That's a 4 on my ranking.
Okay.
No taste, but Wasteland Express Delivery Service. In fact,
did you just mispronounce no thanks? No taste. Okay. Anyway, go on.
Out of our game group, out of the 4 people that we mainly play with, you're the only one that doesn't like it. So you're outnumbered 3-1.
You're perfect. This is America. You're allowed to have a wrong opinion.
I know, and yours is wrong.
If you listen to our podcast, just go try it, and then when you hate it, blame him. That's all I'm saying. Or if you like it, good. That's
yeah. Each their own. We just give each other grief about game picks, but I enjoy this game. I really like the post-apocalyptic theme in most games, and there's quite a bit out there, like Hiroshima Hex. I think the theme comes out better in this. This is Mad Max board game for me. Feels like that Mad Max board game, except for your pick up and delivering, but you pick up and deliver for different factions. I like the legally distinct from flavors that you get from the characters you control, because you got Smokey and the Bandit, but it's not called Smokey and the Bandit. And so it's great. It's fun. I have a great time playing this. I just won't play it with him because he's going to whine and complain the entire time.
Yeah, no, I'm never playing that game again. That was awful. If I want to play a good post-apocalyptic game, I have so many others to choose from. Like Remnants from our friends at Fireside Games. Go check out Remnants. I don't think it's on my list, though. Sorry. That was rude, the way I said that. But that's a much better game. Absolutely. This one, speaking of really heavily thematic games, this is not. This is about carpet selling.
Marrakesh,
yeah. I mean, there's no theme to it. You're just moving a dude
It's
around.
roll and move, area control.
Roll and move, area control.
With really nice little carpet felt pieces.
Yeah, really great components. And then even like the wood tokens that are shiny, like they're gold and silver coins, like it's really good components.
Okay, this game shouldn't be as fun as it is.
It should. And for any of the viewers who watch this podcast or have listened to this podcast and has seen the anime for this After School Dice Club, I think this was on the first or maybe second episode,
somewhere around there,
where they played this, and it was the most intense episode. I loved watching anime characters rolling dice, and it's so intense. You see like sweat dripping down their face and like the flashing background, and you're like, you're just moving a pawn. That's all you're doing.
It's
basically the idea is that you have this guy who's walking around and he's buying and selling carpets, and you roll the die, you move him 1 to 4 spaces. If he lands on an opponent's, or if you land on an opponent's area, which are any adjacent squares that make up the carpet, then you pay that player that number of coins equal to the number of spaces it is. So if I land on Daniel's color and there's 4 spaces, I pay you 4 coins, but then I get to place my carpet on any spot that's adjacent to the buyer, and that includes overlapping other players. And in fact, not only includes it, highly encourages you to cover up other players and break apart their majorities. Run. And then because once everybody's laid out their carpet, then you count up all of the spaces that you still see of yours. You got 1 coin for that, plus the coins you've collected throughout the game. Most money wins. Brilliant game. Marrakesh, it had to be my 81 and the last one of this episode.
All right, let's go into my number 81. And this one's intriguing to me because this is a classic game. But it's a sequel to the classic game. Classic in the newer sense.
Okay.
I mentioned it at the top of the thing when we were talking about like best-selling board games of all time. This is Ticket to Ride.
Oh, yes.
Europe.
Wow, this low.
Yeah, I thought it would be higher too. I really do enjoy it. I have a great time. I like Europe more than I like the original one.
I was going to ask, do you know which one is higher?
Yeah, Europe.
Okay. Wow.
I enjoy Ticket to Ride Europe a lot more than Ticket to Ride, just because I love the train stations. I love that little aspect that they give them, because you have 3 train stations at the start of the game. And if you keep them at the start of the game, or all the way to the end of the game, they give you points. I think it's like 2 points for each train station you have. Something like that. However, you can use the train station to help you finish a route, basically hijacking someone else's line because they blocked you, or you just can't get to a certain point because there's other ways around. So you just use your train station, you use that line to the next spot, and if you're on that spot and going down to wherever you're going, you can collect it. But it's very simple. You draw cards, complete tickets, or draw cards, play cards to play trains, or incomplete tickets. It's very simple. Highest points scores win. Phenomenal game. Again, I like the train station aspect of it. That's why I really like the Europe, even though it's much easier to read the American map because I know American geography a lot better than I know Europe geography.
Yep.
But Ticket to Ride Europe is phenomenal. Yeah, every time we play Ticket to Ride, we play that song. Every time.
I have a whole playlist on Spotify of train songs, and I love that. Like, we have The Locomotion, Locomotive Breath, This Train Don't Stop There by Elton John, and Drops of Jupiter. It's from Train.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, you get the joke. But that'll be it for this very first episode of our Top 100. This was episode going over our number 100 through 81. And so this has been a fun episode. By all means, if you thought this was even the slightest bit, definitely the Beatles version, by the way.
Beatles.
Yeah, hands down. Carpenters are good. Definitely Beatles. No, you don't like Carpenters?
Let's end this episode before we get into it.
So we'll have a fist fight off camera. No, but we really do enjoy these games. And so by all means, if you found this the slightest bit interesting, we want to see whose alignment you go with more, then keep listening to the next episodes. So, yeah, go ahead and...
It's your Twitch line.
Oh, yes, my Twitch line. If you ever want to join in live, it's been a long day already, and we got a few more of these. Like our friend Creative Chaos or anybody else who joins us in on our chat, join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do here, there are 3 things that you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not. Like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
Now, clearly, we're not running out of ideas for episodes, considering we're doing a top 100, which every podcast has ever done. Ever. But if you have ideas for future episodes, not that we need them, send us an email at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
As well as you can also get in contact with us on our official Twitter account at EBG Podcast.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.